Well, joining us today on Phoenix TV is our exclusive interview with hotshot Joe Tallari. Joe, welcome to Phoenix TV.
Thank you. Pleasure being here today.
Joe, everyone will no doubt be astounded by the success you've had this season on a personal level with 45 goals to date. Did you, in any way, shape or form, think that you could have such a good return on your first year in British hockey?
It's it's definitely been a humbling experience so far this year. I had expectations, obviously not this high, but I think the biggest thing that I'm focused on right now is we have a big game tonight against Edinburgh, and winning that game. Personal success is great, but it's always sweeter when a team does well as well.
How important is it for you as an individual to have two good line mates alongside you? I know a threesome on any line is important, but you really do seem to have clicked tremendously well with Tony Hand and Brian Passmore. Yeah,
it's definitely a huge plus to play with line mates that you develop good chemistry with. I've always said that it's always a positive when you play with someone who complements your ability. And Tony Hand and Brian Passmore, are excellent passers, and I've been fortunate to be able to play with them and score as a result.
And the other thing that's really impressive is the work ethic of all three players, and you're all different players. Tony, all right, he probably won't forgive me for saying this. He's the veteran on the line, and Brian seems to have endless energy, and you just seem to have the knack of being in the right place at the right time. It's almost pure chemistry. Yeah,
it's chemistry and hard work. The imports all over here and expected to do well. Tony Hanna, as you said, is the veteran on the line, and he has the experience. Sometimes he has the calmness out there, and that carries over to myself and Passmore. But I think it's just hard work. If everyone just does their job and works hard, positive things happen.
And occasionally when Tony's moved the lines around, he's dropped Brian down onto another line and moved Klutz up alongside you. How different is it playing with the big guy?
It's fine. Klutz is a different player than Passmore. Passmore's all about speed and getting the puck and creative stuff, and Klutz is a dump and chase kind of guy, and he's the one who works his butt off in the corner. So I think it's been fine with both of them.
Looking at yourself now, Joe, you're from Thunder Bay in Ontario, and there's been a number of people come to the UK previously from the Thunder Bay area, Dave Whistle and Alex Dampion most notably. Did you know either of those two guys before you came over here?
No, I never have. I haven't heard of them, but I think it's great the Thunder Bay players are doing real well, and they've gone all over the globe, I think, to play.
What was life like growing up in Thunder Bay? Because it's not one of those names that trips off the tongue easily when people talk about Canada. Everybody knows the big cities, but Thunder Bay, I take it's a smaller community.
Yeah, it's a small community, but it's known in the hockey world as a hockey factory. Some great NHLers are from Thunder Bay. As for myself, growing up, I played a lot of soccer, as we call it back home. Hockey, obviously we grew up playing hockey, and I left home when I was 17, and to pursue my hockey career. And Thunder Bay is a great place, a lot of nature. I think the closest city to us is about 4 hours away. So we have beautiful nature, and it's a joy sometimes being back there in the summer times.
I was going to say, when you go home in the summer, what kind of fills your time when you're home? Are you one of the hunting, shooting, fishing guys?
I like fishing. I enjoy fishing a lot. Yeah, I enjoy going fishing with my dad and my brothers and my family and stuff like that. So I think the biggest thing is now obviously I have a fiance in the States, so I head back there now when the season's done. But I like to go home at least for about a week and enjoy myself with my family.
Excellent, Joe. And as we said at the start of the interview, you've been one of the hot shots, one of the stars of the team. But talking about stars, and that brings you on to one of your own little hobbies as well, because you're keen on astronomy, aren't you?
Yes, I am. It's a big hobby of mine, astronomy.
And last week we had the lunar eclipse on the night that the team were down in Coventry, and you were looking forward to viewing that on the way back, but the British weather worked against you.
Yeah, I was very disappointed, as were a lot of the guys on the team. They all wanted to experience it, and it was nice for about a week and a half up until that night of the lunar eclipse, and it was cloudy. So I had my eyes back home looking for me and telling me how it was.
How did you first get into astronomy then, Joe? What took your fancy there?
Well, I always wanted to be an astronaut growing up as a kid. Then I realized how much work it actually took to become one, so I decided not to. And I've always had a fascination of looking up at the heavens and seeing what those little lights are shining in the sky. I've always wondered, and I'm still wondering going on, but it's great. I don't think you look at life the same when you understand, all that kind of stuff.
Exactly, because there's a whole huge world out there, isn't there? Are you one of those guys that firmly believes that there's life elsewhere in the universe?
Oh, there has to be. There has to be. I mean, so many stars, so many galaxies. It's so big. It kind of helps you too. Not really little problems here on Earth when there's such a big, so much more going on, than we actually know about. So, I think it's just, I think it's a great hobby.
And there's been talk in the last couple of years of people having holidays in space and going up and having a trip around the moon and things like that on the shuttle. Is that something that you'd give your eye teeth to do?
I would definitely. It's a big financial deposit you have to make, though. But space tourism is in the future, definitely. And if you have about $20 million, you can actually go up to the International Space Station now. But Phoenix doesn't pay that well, so I won't be heading there anytime soon.
I was going to say you'd have to play a few more years of hockey to get on the space station.
Yeah, a few.
Joe, looking forward now to the rest of the season. Obviously, the Phoenix are look as though it's going to be either a 6th or a 7th place finish now in the Elite League table. But then it's into the playoffs, and it's a whole different mentality, certainly for the North American players. Once we get into the postseason, how can you explain that in simple terms?
Well, I think during the season, guys get worn out and get tired and stuff like that. When playoffs come around, it's almost, especially in this league, it's almost going to be a single game elimination. So everything's riding on one game. So you can't show up and say you had a bad game or your ankle hurts or whatever. You have to come out and do your job. Otherwise, you're headed home the next day. I think that's the biggest change in mentality from the season and to the playoffs.
And with it being such a short playoff, does it really matter who the Phoenix get to play in that home and away game?
I don't think so. Back home, we pretty much have best of 7 series, and here it's only one game. So I don't think it doesn't really matter if say we played Coventry, for example, and maybe they didn't show up that night or something. A couple bad bounces, good bounces went our way, and we ended up winning a game. And I think it happened in one game.
And on a personal note, as we mentioned before, you've got 45 goals already on the season. You're tied in the goal scoring chart with Adam Calder of Coventry. Is that obviously everybody wants to win the scoring chart, but does that play on your mind at all?
No, I can't control it. He does. All I can control is what I do and how I play and prepare and perform out on the ice. So I hope hopefully he does well. Good for himself, good for personal success. But as far as how well he does, I can't really control any of that. So
looking ahead now, Joe, and maybe going ahead a good few years, I would expect. What does Joe Tallari think he'll do post hockey?
Well, I got a degree in marketing. So hopefully in the business world somewhere. But I'm kind of a day-by-day kind of guy, and I'm going to play hockey as long as possible. And when I decide to, when the love isn't there to play hockey anymore, when I would decide to walk away, or when I earn $20 million to go to the space station, then that'll be what happens.
Would Joe Tallari ever consider coaching? Because with the way you play, people look at your game and see what a good player you are. Would coaching ever figure in the horizon?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if an opportunity presented itself, then I'd look into it, obviously. But I'm not thinking about coaching right now. I'm thinking about playing still, and I'm kind of, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.